Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Sick building syndrome is an issue which most of the buildings that are poorly designed they face, no matter it's a new building or an old building. Um, it is referred to the design of a building. When many people living in the same building face specific type of symptoms, then we can refer that those symptoms to be associated with the building. It is also to be noted that not everyone has the same type of sensitivity. So some people react more and some people show a lesser type of reaction. So sick building syndrome is something that is associated with the building. When people go inside that building, they face that problem, and when they move out of the building, the symptoms they are removed, they disappear. What the people experience are acute health issues and discomfort when the time spent in a specific building. Such symptoms are temporary, but some buildings may leave long-term effects due to their design. Now, this type of effect is usually related to the occupational effect, for example, at the workplace, or sometimes at the residential places also. The intensity of these types of problems it increases if the maintenance of the building is not done properly or not done at regular intervals. Such type of problems may increase. Now, the indoor air problems are not only due to the badly designed buildings, but also sometimes related to some activities that are going on inside the building, which may generate some type of air pollutants. For example, some type of sprays, polishes, or other type of chemicals that may be used, or some other activities like the increase in moisture may enhance the sick building syndrome, and people may experience different types of symptoms due to that. Usually people consider the basements or old buildings which may provide, which may give the effect of sick building syndrome, but even the newer buildings, if they are not properly designed, they may also give the same effect to the people living in there at that place, or maybe working at that place. There are several indicators that may be associated with the sick building syndrome effects. These include the central nervous system effects, such as the headache, fatigue, difficulty in concentration, and lethargy, etc. There could be other symptoms such as the allergy in the skin, or maybe itching, or other type of effects such as irritation, etc. There could be some effects such as the related to the stomach, maybe diarrhea or something. Other effects may be associated with the respiratory tract, such as the mucous membrane irritation. One can feel irritation or inflammation in the eyes, nose, and throat. There could be asthma-like symptoms also, such as the chest tightness, etc., coughing, sneezing, etc. So, and complaints of odors. Different types of odors can accumulate within the indoor environment, and they can affect the persons living there. When the persons they leave the building, they feel better, and they recover from the symptoms, but some of the symptoms may take more time to recover, and these are the ones usually associated with the chronic exposure, such as the exposure related to the occupational places, such as the workplaces, maybe in the offices or in the industries, or may also be associated with the living place also. So it varies from person to person and from case to case. So the uh, the symptoms are more just like the ones that I just mentioned, including fever, chills, throat irritation, dry cough or dry skin, dizziness or nausea, or muscle aches, etc. So let us now discuss about the causes of the sick building syndrome. It is very important to know what are the causes, so that any person who goes for designing a new building, or he goes for treating an older building, is going how they are going to find out what could be the causes of sick building syndrome, and how they can avoid the sick building syndrome. So the number one cause of the sick building syndrome is the inadequate ventilation. That is one of the primary causes, because any type of contaminant that is coming into the inside the building could be avoided if there is good ventilation. So usually the buildings that if that give these types of effect, they are poorly ventilated buildings or poorly designed, such as the ones that are lacking the cross ventilation. Then there are the chemicals that are coming from the indoors. There could be chemicals or gases which are coming from the outdoors. They could also affect the people living inside their houses. So outdoor air affects the indoor air quality, and there could also be some biological contaminants that may be present within the indoor environment, and they will affect the people. So the biological contaminants can generate within the indoor environment. There are specific conditions that trigger the biological contaminants, and we are going to discuss those conditions. So the chemicals can accumulate in higher concentrations within the indoor environment as compared to the outdoor environment. Most of the indoor sources, they include the paints, the polishes, the cleaning chemicals such as the aromatic hydrocarbons. They could also include some pesticides, etc. Then there can be other types of chemicals which are produced from the stoves in the kitchens, or maybe the burners or the fireplaces, or other type of things like the heaters, etc. So there are various gases like the carbon monoxide, the nitrogen oxides, and sulfur oxides, and also some types of particles, solid particles, that is the particulate matter, which is also sometimes produced from the stoves or fireplaces or heaters. One very prominent source of the indoor air pollution or the sick building syndrome is the environmental tobacco smoke, or the second-hand smoking, also referred to as the second-hand smoking. So if a building which is lacking ventilation, or where the people are habitual or of smoking, these type of buildings will also show such effects of the persons living there. There could be various chemicals that are coming from the outdoor environment. The outdoor contamination can also contribute to the indoor environment. So the ambient air quality is very important for the determining the effects on the people living inside their houses. The indoor sources such as the combustion, the garages and kitchens, these produce various types of gases, and they can lead to the heavy concentrations of those gases. such as these the carbon monoxide, sulfur oxides, and nitrogen oxides, and the particulate matter, which is the solid particles, into the atmosphere. These types of gases are produced from the industries, or they are also produced from the traffic, the vehicles. They are produced from the vehicles, and the people living in the houses next to the busy roads where heavy traffic is passing by, they will experience the exposure to these types of gases. So the traffic and industries and other type of sources, they can affect the quality in the indoor. Lack of ventilation is one of the most prominent problems that contribute to this type of effects of a building, and the inadequate ventilation is usually a result of poor design of a building. The cross ventilation is needed to flush out most air pollutants. So because we breathe, we need fresh air, and there are gases that we exhale, like the carbon dioxide and the moisture, the water vapor. Then there are other gases that are produced from various sources inside the home. So these type of pollutants, they are actually coming from various sources, and they need to be flushed out of the from the indoor environment, from the indoor air. So places where the a natural ventilation, cross ventilation, is not possible, in those places we need to provide the artificial type of ventilation, such as the HVAC system, the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. These are needed in those type of buildings where we do not have adequate natural ventilation. If this type of system is also not properly designed according to the needs, according to the number of persons living inside the building, or according to the requirement or size of the building, then the HVAC system will not be adequate, and if it is not adequate, again the sick building syndrome will persist at some level. So there are various options for maintaining the cross ventilation inside a building, and we need to design buildings such as in our country we need buildings in the west open buildings, which can have more ventilation in the summers when we need it the most. And the cross ventilation can have various types of arrangements in which we can let the fresh air coming into the house, and we can have some exits from where it can exit out from other side of the house. Various type of wind catchers can be used, and you may have experienced this type of wind catchers in particularly even in the older building when the design parameters were good. So there are other types of contaminants which lead to the sick building syndrome. For example, the biological contaminants. They include the bacteria, viruses, molds, fungi, and even the insects. They are also the biological contaminants. There are other contaminants such as the skin of animals or hair of the animal, and these are usually triggered by these types of conditions are triggered by two main features. Number one, there will be if there is a source of moisture inside the house, there would be the biological contaminants, the biological agents which produce all these types of contaminants, they will grow, and then there could be the lack of ventilation, which is the other main feature. So together with these two features, the moisture and high moisture content and the lack of ventilation, the biological contaminants will grow inside any house or inside any office or any other workplace. The pets and the pests, they are also the sources of biological contaminants in the indoors, as I just mentioned, the like the cat hair or the animal dander, or the droppings of certain insects such as the cockroaches or other flies or other type of insects. They could also trigger these types of contaminants. These symptoms which are associated with these types of biological contaminants are they include the allergies, asthma, rhinitis, coughing, sneezing, headache, etc. There is also some sources like the dust catchers. These dust catchers are usually the carpets or curtains or the other type of some furnitures also. So they contain dust, and usually tiny insects like the dust mites, which are shown in the picture here, they live in these types of dust catchers. These are called dust catchers, the carpets, the some types of curtains or other type of furniture. They may catch the dust, and they are dust catchers, and they may trigger such tiny creatures, insects, which are living inside those. So if such type of things are at home, they need to be properly cleaned, they need to be properly treated at regular intervals, so as to remove any type of dust that is present inside those stuff. So what you people can do is you can observe some buildings around you, and you can also observe the types of factors that may contribute to sick building syndrome in those places. And you can also find out the root causes and the effects that may be facing by people, maybe yourself or maybe someone around you, by those types of buildings. Thank you very much.